Another edition of World Talks here on TVP World, where every word matters. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and please join me and my guests on this next interview. Germany is set for early elections as Chancellor Olaf Scholz's coalition government has collapsed, triggering a vote of confidence scheduled for December 16th. Now, if Scholz loses, snap elections will take place in February, with key issues such as economic stability, support for Ukraine, and Germany's position on NATO under scrutiny. Europe awaits clarity from its largest economy. Joining us today on TVP World to discuss the implications of Germany's political turmoil is Bartłomiej Kot, Program Director of the Warsaw Security Forum. Hello, sir, and welcome to TVP World.
Lovely to be here with you.
So can you help us first break down what you believe is led to the collapse of Germany's coalition government, and what key factor has influenced Scholz's decision to actually call for a vote of confidence?
Well, we are living through fascinating times, not only in the US, but also in Europe right now, with, of course, the biggest and the most important economy of Europe being right now under a lot of challenges from within the political spectre. I mean, Germany, of course. And if you look at the current state of the German economy, then you will actually find the key to your answer. The fact is that the German economic model as such, that was based throughout the years upon at least three different factors: so the very cheap security coming mostly from the US, cheap energy supply coming actually from Russia, and cheap labor supply coming from different parts of world. Each of these factors is actually not existent anymore. So it means that it has actually it had a huge impact on where the German economy is right now. And it also has a huge impact on actually the position of the German government and the struggles within the coalition parties, that from the very beginning of Scholz government, they haven't had actually a common view on how the economy should be managed. Right now, caused the collapse of the coalition. Given the fact that actually each and every single party out of the coalition government was, simply speaking, losing support mostly because of the poorly managed economy, let me put it that way.
So like you mentioned, there's actually not an unanimous agreement between this coalition on how the German economy should function. And all three factors, like you mentioned, cheap security from the United States, cheap energy from Russia, cheap labor from various parts of the world, or mostly namely China, that's not something that could be solved very rapidly under whichever political system. How do you think Germany will be able to come together to establish a new economic model?
Well, it certainly needs a huge rethinking of the whole model, and it needs leadership. Let me put it that way. The problem with Scholz is that he has learned his ways, the ways of managing the government throughout his time in Merkel's cabinet. Merkel, for good and for bad, she was actually the one who was always seeking for the lowest common denominator among her peers, among the cabinet ministers. The problem is right now here that this kind of managing of the government in Germany is not effective anymore, since Germany has to answer to the big challenges of today and tomorrow. The new chancellor, I don't believe that this will be Scholz. Actually, Scholz doesn't even have a lot of support internally in his own SPD party. The new chancellor will have to create a new opening in transatlantic relations with the new Trump administration, which will be extremely important because of the possible new tariff policy of Trump's administration that actually is very much aimed at German export to the US, which is of course based on automotive industry. The new chancellor would also have to create a absolutely new China policy that will probably seek a lot of the hope, at least, common views with the US, Currently, Germany is even opposing actually introducing tariffs on Chinese import to EU, which also caused recently a lot of the disagreements internally in the European Union. And of course, the new Chancellor would have to absolutely remodel the budget in terms of actually the bigger support, in my opinion, when it comes to the defense industry. It will certainly be more conservative government, also in terms of actually the economy. If only there is a possibility of actually shrinking the spending on social welfare, then I suppose that this will be done by the new coalition. The truth is, however, that given that this will probably be a big coalition ranging from CDU through SPD up to maybe even the Greens or Liberals, depending on the result of the elections, the new government will have a huge, in my opinion, support from electorate, which actually will give them a mandate for this kind of changes.
Right, so it does sound like a double-edged sword though, like, right? You mentioned it is a very big coalition and perhaps would have the popularity to have like a government mandate. However, do you also see with all these parties trying to work together, the kind of fragmentation will once again become an issue?
Well, given the nature of challenges and given also the possible composition of the new Bundestag, where actually the opposition will be possibly composed out of two extreme parties, AfD and Alliance of Sarah Wagenknecht, the government will have actually a huge political support for the mere fact of actually not being a part of the extreme parties. So if that will be actually the new Bundestag will be shown to the public. The public will actually buy the image of the new Bundestag as actually the democratic majority versus the radical left and radical right. Then I suppose that there will be actually a huge positive support for the new government. Mm-hmm. And when you look at SPD, currently, of course, they are like the major party within the coalition government. They will most certainly be a part also of the new government, but not the major party. So they will adjust their policies to the leadership of Christian Democrats. When you look at the history of the German governments, that composition was always effective in terms of economy, but also very much effective when it comes to the cooperation with countries such as Poland.
Okay, so paradoxically, perhaps these opposition actually will be able to strengthen the current future coalition. And speaking of these opposition party and the more extreme left and right-wing parties, we actually see a pretty substantial rise in support for the AfD party, and it is still gaining traction as we speak. Now, some of these more mainstream parties have all came out and stated that they're under no circumstances will they ever form a coalition or cooperate with the AfD. However, do you think that is sustainable going forward as if AfD continues to gain traction and more support?
Oh, of course, AfD is gaining traction, but this is actually the vote of no confidence to the current political elites of Germany, given, of course, as I said, a huge changes into the economic factors and economics model of the republic. In my opinion, AfD is currently unelectable for the sake of actually forming a new government. They have as much support as they have because of the fact that they are part of the extreme opposition to the government and to the model of what people would right now perceive as the mainstream of German politics. Well, I've asked this question actually to a lot of my colleagues that are actually members of Bundestag from Christian Democrats, because if you look at who would be possibly the mostly affected of the rise of AfD, it is of course CDU, and I was very much afraid of the fact that the scenario of the UK, the Conservative Party in the UK, or the Republican Party in the US could actually repeat in Germany. Drive to the right because of the leakage of electorate. And each one and every of these MPs, they're always saying that this is politically impossible for CDU to drive the narrative in order to gain more support of the ones who are leaking to AfD. As far as I'm concerned right now, I don't believe that the political elites of Germany will adopt AfD or alliance of Sarah Wagenknecht into the mainstream of German politics.
So do you think that perhaps, like you mentioned, a lot of people are actually voting for AfD, perhaps not in support of their rhetoric of itself, but more as a opposition or a strong opposition vote to the current coalition? And with the forming of a new coalition, maybe these people will start to slowly fall back?
Certainly, if the new government will be capable of showing the effectiveness, especially in terms of economy. People are voting for economy. They're not voting for foreign policy or things like that. They're voting for economy. The Germans for years have been actually used to living in the strongest economy in the EU, where all these factors, the cheap labor, the cheap energy, were actually the basis of the politics. The thing is that the world has changed, simply speaking, and Germany has to reinvent itself in this new world where there will be no cheap security from the US and there will be no cooperation in Russia in years to come. This is actually the question to the leadership of the next German government, whether they will be capable of showing a credible solution to the problem. When you look at CDU right now, actually they have the new program that already actually adopted the answers to the things such as the change or possible change in the transatlantic alliance and relations. And they have actually came to terms in terms of actually choosing one person to lead the party. So I guess in that regards, they are way more ready for the elections as compared to SPD or any other party.
So we'll have to see how they tackle these issues going forward. Thank you so much for your input and insight. Really appreciate it. Thanks for being with us. And thank you for watching this edition of World Talks. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.